Hello. So this is obviously going to be the first stream that I do as a review. And for me personally, looking at reviews, I feel like it's good to look at a review from one side, not both, as I think if you look at both sides, it's really hard to tell like where to look really, because the one team might do something, but if I correct that, then I have to try and correct the other team, right, which is a bit challenging. So due to the fact that of this, basically I'm going to be doing one side and I'm going to be doing the losing side. So Oryx Arctic will be the side I'm going to look at the most. I'll analyze both drafts from both teams and give feedback on both of them and what I think could have been improved on. So yeah, I'm just gonna quickly speed run through the draft since I don't really feel the need to comment on the draft specifically. Uh, so I'm just gonna find where the draft ends here. Um, Okay, so that's basically where it ends here. So, looking at the drafts, obviously Youko blue side, Oryx Arctic on red. And the thing about Oryx Arctic is you want to use that R5 pick, which is the whole idea behind red side, picking red side in a draft. You want to be using the red side R5 as a true counter. Now, the true counter is basically how does this champion beat my opponent and everyone else in the game? And so that's kind of the whole thing behind the red side is using that R5 pick. Blue side is you have the first picks, which means you can take any of the OPs that are left up on the table, right? OP champions right now are Maokai, Rel, Jarvan's pretty good, Orianna's pretty good, Syndra can be good as well. So it's mostly like these really big, powerful champions that are getting picked a lot um, in early rotations. Obviously, comfort trumps all of this. Everything about what I've just said gets trumped by comfort, especially at a level such as this, which is rather low leveled, which is kind of the point. So not to flame anyone or anything, but a lower level comfort trumps everything. So we see the draft start here with the Mumu, very solid. Obviously, looking to immediately opt into this team fight style, right? I think it's a very good pick, very strong, can clear jungle, can gank, can take drakes, a lot of different things, and also works really well with AP since you buff the AP damage that your team does to targets you hit with your curse, right? So pairing that up with a Morgana and a Nico means that your bot and mid ganks are a lot more powerful. And Gnar, obviously, his W passive does AP damage as well, I'm pretty sure, which means that that is also going to be a little bit stronger with the Amumu gank. So I think a really solid first pick here. Obviously, not the Maokai was taken out of the board. I think the rest of these are all targeted bans to the different people here. But um, but yeah, I think pretty solid first pick. We then respond with Ashe, Zyra. Now, the problem with this duo is, personally, I really hate Ashe as an AD carry. I think she doesn't really provide much in terms of I don't think she really provides much in terms of like the damage, right? So she obviously has a whole bunch of utility, but less damage than traditional AD carries. And so the way I see it is if you're going to pick a champion for utility, it should be put in the support role, right? I don't think you should be picking a champion with low damage, high utility, and AD carry role. So I think that is a big mistake I think made by Arctic right off the bat. Then pairing it with Zyra. Now the problem with Zyra is it's not very common. Um, it's not very common right now. That may play into their advantage because Yuko might not know how to play against Zyra. But traditionally, I think picking ADC support is a really bad idea because you're basically saying the bot lane is lost because of what we've picked, right? Because you can counter both AD carry and support, and you're not really responding to the Amumu that's come out, which I think would be a really good thing to do, especially since jungle is such a like a first pick, second pick able role right now, just because of how powerful they are, right? So you obviously have counters like Nocturne into the Maokai, right, which you can use, but into the Amumu, I think Nocturne's good. I think they could just pick the Nocturne early, and if they really did want the Ashe, they could pick the Ashe alongside it and keep the support for a counter pick into what the bot lane does. Since if you want to be winning bot lane, I think a support counter pick is very important. So I think a little bit of a blunder in the draft from Oryx Arctic there, but yeah, we'll continue. Yuko respond with Caitlyn Morgana. Caitlyn Morgana, very, very powerful lane. got a lot of push, got a lot of kill pressure, got a lot of pick potential. So there's a lot of strength in the Caitlyn Morgana lane. Obviously, Morgana right now not the best champion in the game. Obviously, like mostly frowned upon. Caitlyn Lux is a much more um, popular Caitlyn duo right now. Um, but I think into the Ashe, into the Zyra, I think the Morgana spell shield could be absolutely huge. So judging at that, I think also I'm pretty sure that Morgana is a support comfort pick. So Caitlyn Morgana, very powerful. The only problem here with Caitlyn now, which in drafts makes her very vulnerable, especially to picking early, is Caitlyn gets countered by any tank whatsoever. So I think Sion, Ornn, Mundo, like these champions that will just be in her face. She really struggles to get through until about 4 or 5 items, just because of how her builds work. And especially if she goes the lethality version, it's really, really hard for her to get through these massive tanks. And so picking Caitlyn early like this really sets you up for like an R3, R4 Scion, Ornn, or Mundo, or anything like this that's really just going to be in her face and making her unable to kill anything. Um, so that is a potential danger of this. They're going to win the bot lane, but maybe they will not have much damage on tanks if they go like this. Obviously, Oryx Arctic responded with the Nocturne. I think it's pretty powerful champion right now. I think they could have picked it earlier, as said before, but I think it's pretty good into the Mumu as well. Gonna scale to level 6, gonna drop a spell shield, and then yeah, that's basically all that's sorted. So I think a Mumu, good response here, and then we go to the second ban phase. Now, second ban phase, you're looking on blue side and red side are very different. Okay. On red side, we want to ban champions that are going to counter our R4 pick. So whatever gets picked here, we want to ban champions that will counter this champion. Mainly because this is going to probably be our blind pick on R4. So we want to get rid of any like the biggest counters to our R4. No reason to ban anything for R5 because let's say in this game they want to R5 top lane. There's no reason to ban any top laners because you do have the counter pick. So no matter what they pick, you should theoretically be able to ban or to pick something that's going to beat it. So that's kind of the theory behind there. On blue side, however, it's the opposite. You want to be banning things that are going to counter your blind pick, right? So anything that's going to be picked here on R5, you want to ban on second rotation from blue side because if you expect, for example, they're okay in this case their mid laner to be picked on fourth pick, there's no point banning things there because you have the counter pick for it. So the exact same logic applies here. You don't want to ban things that you will have the counter pick on. And so I think this is a bit of a blunder. I think this is very good. It really shrinks the mid pool though. Um, but but I think in that regard, it's kind of fine. Anyway, I think it's fine from both teams. So obviously, then looking at picks here, we have red side. I think Neeko would have been a lot better to try and grab here. Obviously, if it's not able to be played, I think Ari is close second. Well, when I was watching this, I was thinking to myself, Neeko, Ari. And so they did lock in the Ari. So the thing about Ari is a very powerful duo with the Nocturne, a lot of setup, especially around level 6. Around level 6, enemy mid laner has to be really, really careful. And that's the strength of a duo. No point picking a good duo if you aren't going to use the duo, right? So here, in this case, you want to be using the Ahri, the Nocturne ult into the mid lane with Ahri looking to set up a charm or something, maybe setting up the charm first and then the response with the Nocturne ult. So I think yeah, I think it's a good pick, but it has to definitely be played around. And then I think on blue side, the Neeko lock I think is good. I think it's pretty fine into Ahri. So far, they've drafted relatively low range, which is what which Neeko excels in. Obviously, the Ashe is a little bit annoying for Neeko, but I think also in that case, Ashe not really the longest range champion. So the only thing there that might be a problem is like the stun and the slow. But even then, if you have the Hextech Rocket Belt or a Flash available, you will get on top of them. So I think I mean not Ashe, Neeko, really really good pick here. Also synergizes well with Mumu, Mumu ult into the Neeko ult, and you're kind of screwed as Oryx Arctic, so we have to be careful of that. And then they blind pick Gnar. Now Gnar is a very very solid blind pick. I think it has bad matchups for sure. Thinking things like Jace is one, then Irelia's another one. I personally believe in Urgot, especially at lower levels. I think Urgot is an amazing counter to Gnar. Um, Scion at low levels is a great counter to Gnar. So there are a lot of counters, but at the same time, I think Gnar is a very powerful pick, and I don't think that at lower levels people really want to play the Irelia or the Jace. You know, Scion is possible, but they also probably won't have as much ability to kill you, which normally would exist in that matchup. And I don't think people would pick Urgot. So I think, yeah, very solid blind pick. And then Oryx Arctic respond with their true counter. They pick Aatrox. And I think this was probably the second biggest flaw they made here. I think they made three big flaws. No, I think this will be the biggest flaw that they made. I think this was the biggest mistake that they made going into this draft. Aatrox is not particularly good against Gnar, and also does not counter any of the other champions in this game. So Aatrox doesn't enjoy dealing with long range. And if we look at the team comp of Caitlyn, Morgana, Neeko, there's a decent amount of long range, meaning he can't really impact the quote unquote backline, meaning he's gonna have to play kind of front to back, which is really hard for Aatrox, considering the only time he can really impact the really close area in front of him is on R3. R2 is also a bit further range, which is kind of what I'm thinking. Obviously, it can impact short range. You just have to adjust your positioning with your E, which is possible. So it's definitely possible, but realistically, not the best choice here, I think, in the Aatrox. I think it was a big blunder from Oryx Arctic to pick the Aatrox here. I think the second blunder was Ashe. I think it's not a very good champion. And I think the third blunder was picking Zyra first, so picking your whole bot lane, basically sacrificing bot lane. And so if we look now at how the draft has played out, we have losing top, losing bot, and Ahri mid, which is most likely only going to come into effect at level 6, which is a bit scary, I think, for Oryx Arctic. I think it's not really where you want to be after drafting. You ideally want like two strong lanes, maybe a strong jungler, but yeah, I think some very big issues that come into play looking at this draft, but we'll have to see how it all plays out going into the game. So yeah, we'll skip ahead to the game, which is kind of over here. Yeah, all right. So traditional 5 point. Obviously some issues with the 5 point, but I'm not really going to touch on that much right now. I think it's not that important for either side. Maybe I'll touch on it in game two if it's similar. Um, so yeah, we're looking here. We see Nocturne starting blue side, moving towards top side. I think that's probably correct. I don't think there is much kill threat on bot lane, especially like after level 2 when the Morgana probably has the spell shield. I think it's really hard for Nocturne to gank this lane. As for how bot lane should be played out, I think it's going to have to be a very safe lane. I think the best chance of doing something would have been level 1, but unfortunately they had to leash and blue side didn't, which is a big thing here as well. I think that also could be something that could have influenced the jungle pathing. Maybe bot lane says, "Hey, we have to play level 1 here before the spell shield comes out. We have the Ashe to obviously slow down Zyra to the root, a whole bunch of like we have like this kind of stuff going for us. So we probably couldn't leash in this case, and we probably had to go straight into lane to try and play for level 1, but obviously not picked. Another thing that I think is very important to point out here is the fact that Ahri has Ignite. Now I think Ignite is a very greedy summoner spell to take. I think the problem here with the Ignite is the fact that like uh yeah, right, you have to kill and you have to base and you don't have TP. So if you do get an unlucky death to a Neeko, which is entirely possible, Neeko damage very high. I mean if we look here, right, like this is like if you have like an unfortunate death, it's really hard for you to come back. Whereas for Neeko on the other side, if she has an unfortunate death, she'll just teleport back and it'll be all good, right? So I think that is a bit of a mistake made by Oryx King. We also see Ghost coming out from Ashe into Caitlyn, Morgana, Neeko, Mumu, Gnar. A lot of cleansable things. I think it's very greedy to take the Ghost in this case. I think it's really hard to play fight. So I think using the Ghost here is maybe not ideal, but there are a lot of skill shots going out at the same time, right? So maybe Ghost is valuable in that, right? So she's basically looking, Ash is basically here looking to dodge skill shots rather than cleanse anything that might hit her. So if she gets hit, will be very vulnerable. If she uses Ghost in time and can dodge, I think it'll be very powerful for her as well. So that's kind of how I feel there. Um, yes, we've got the full clear from Nocturne into a gank early. Very good, burns the flash in mid lane. I like that. Gets top scuttle crab as well, gives that top lane just a little bit of safety. But yeah, I think here is a pretty big mistake, right? If we know that Amumu has cleared from top to bot, since I don't know if we saw bot lane leashing or not, but if we have that, if we got top scuttle uncontested, I think it's pretty important to make the connection that hey, maybe Amumu's on bot side, and so chasing down the river when your mid laner has left, like if we look here, the mid laner King here is out of the fight, right? He's completely left the fight, and we see Stort kind of going forward into the river. I think is a big blunder on his part. I think we can expect Amumu to be there, and we end up having to burn the flash for not much. I think we could have definitely predicted that one happening. As we see, continue going. Spell shield comes out. He's fine. He's fine. He's wanting to base. I think anyway. So I don't think it's like the end of the world. That he trades like this. I think the biggest problem there was just the lack of flash that he now has going into the rest for the next 5 minutes. So I think that's a pretty big issue for him. And Oryx gets a first blood. So there we go. There's the ignite value, I think, coming out. So good from him if this was what he's going for. I think he's really achieved it. But now we're going to see the teleport, I think, come in from Angel Anna, which should technically negate it. There it is. So overall, I think it's worth for a king. He gets the wave under and he gets the kill with the ignite. I think he's very happy with this, um, as well. So that's very nice. Nocturne is again bot side. I think yeah, has to flash there. Really unfortunate positioning. Again, maybe we could have known that Amumu was here, considering he was bot side just before. If he started top side, his camps would only be kind of getting up in a little bit. So maybe he could have predicted he was going top, but obviously it's a very difficult situation, difficult thing to predict. So then looking here at like CS numbers, we see a pretty huge discrepancy coming up in top right now. This is a really good trade, I think, for Aatrox. Nars used his TP, Aatrox hasn't, so any trade like this is really good, puts a lot of pressure on the Gnar. So very nice from Baka Boy, I think. Obviously, if he also gets traded on and gets chunked really hard, he can obviously just TP back to the lane. So I think this is really good from Aatrox, really relieves some of the pressure. Unfortunately, leaving here in a situation like this, I think is very bad since yeah, he will lose the cannon for doing this. And again, like wave is frozen. I don't think you really can be moving like this. I don't think you kill a Mumu, so he's probably just looking to spot out a Mumu. I don't know why he's looking to spot out a Mumu on a freeze for blue side. He's just kind of losing a lot of minions for no real reason at this moment. Knowing where a Mumu is isn't going to change the fact that you don't have kill pressure bot until level 6, and even then, I'm not even sure you do, right? So knowing where the Amumu is in this case is, I think, not worth losing everything that he lost there. As we see the CS lead grow from 11 that it was before to 22 now. And I think that's just due to the fact that he roamed there. I think if he stayed with the wave, he could have pushed it under and then moved. Um, but yeah, I think it's not so good. I think this could be good. But he decides against it. Okay. So yeah, we're gonna look to play Drake now. I don't know how we managed to play Drake as Oryx Arctic. I think a mistake from Youko here. Maybe they came off a base. I think that's only a reasonable explanation here. I think Morgana Caitlyn should never be getting pushed under the tower. They should always be in a pushing position. I think it's very important that the jungler as well recognizes this and can cover them up as well. So if they are in any threat of, for example, Nocturne coming bot lane, I think it's very important that they then get into a position where they can where he can cover this. So they get the Drake, which is good. I think that's a bit of a steal. I think they don't really have the most prio mid right now. With Ari, I think Nico has a bit more prio. And unfortunately here we see Aatrox get solo killed. It is what it is. Um, but yeah, like we don't have the prior mid, we don't have the prior bot. I think it's a steal to get the Drake here. But we do see Nocturne coming in here, getting on top of Caitlyn. Obviously, the flash goes from Caitlyn, and then I think this is the big problem here now is there just isn't really follow up from the bot lane. Ashe is in level 6, Zyra is in level 6. Like, where does the follow up come from, right? Like here we see the Nocturne ult come out, but then immediate spell shield onto a Mumu from Morgana, and also the Zyra E hitting the spell shield, not really who Nocturne targeted. I think it's just kind of an indicator of how this should go. I think way too hasty from Oryx Arctic here. I think they really want to wait with that to until the sixes come out, and then they can maybe look to kill someone. I think they should also play front to back. I don't think Nocturne can ult in alone. There's no one that can really follow him up, right? So I think him diving deep is not so useful. Thank you, Dr. Valentine, for the follow. So yeah, I think a bit of a mistake, but the level 6 do come out now for Ashe Zyra. They're gonna look to cancel. I think this is a very good attempt at a kill. Very nice. Maybe wanting to block that flash, or that ultimate rather from Caitlyn. I think here it's good to just back off. I think the risk getting outplayed here, but I think also maybe could have been a kill. But very good, I think, from Oryx Arctic bot lane, recognizing the level 6, recognizing the strength that comes with it. Obviously, Zyra not level 6 yet, which could also, if she gets level 6, could be another kill potential. I think for Oryx Arctic. So I think that's a positive here, barring the 1-4. And I also think if Ashe tanked that ultimate, she would have also died, or maybe instead died. So I think maybe good for Oryx Arctic that she didn't tank the Caitlyn ult. Obviously, a lot of things could have gone different. So um, Nocturne R is about 3/4 of the way done. That's probably what we're looking at to play off of, right? I don't think we should use any cooldowns outside of that now. We should be looking to chain Nocturne ult wherever he wants to go. Um, I think it's really bad for us to use ultimates in bot lane, for example, and remove that possibility from Nocturne. So I think it's very important that we keep all our ultimates up and all our playmaking abilities. Um, so yeah, just taking a quick look at the set of the game. Oryx Arctic 1.1k gold behind. I think the issue there, the reason for this is just purely because of CS differences right now. I think it's kind of forced CS differences, I'm gonna say. Just looking at how the lanes play out, right? We have the range melee top lane, which is going to result in that. Also, bad roam timing, I think, also influences that like 20-25 CS lead that's going on there. The 45 CS lead in bot lane is purely because of the like Caitlyn Morgana lane just being so oppressive. And so I think, yeah, as we look at gold here, yeah, it's a pretty clear indication. I think this is bad from Oryx Arctic. I think to play top lane here, I think is bad. Obviously the Nico basing obviously makes it a bit easier, I think. But if you don't really have prio top, I think it's really hard to force Herald. And looking to play for Herald without like forcing prio either by moving a support or um or moving the bot lane roles like lane swapping the bot lane, I think is really hard then to play for the Herald. But it is going to be given over by Youko. I think maybe forced as well due to the fact that Nico isn't there. But yeah, Nico coming back here, I think it's going to put Oryx in a lot of trouble. I am going to say one thing though about this whole thing. If we're looking to make a play top lane, we really shouldn't be looking to make a play bot lane. I think it's very, very greedy for Oryx Arctic bot lane to be where they were in this case, pushing this far up and then looking to fight. Obviously, this is going to like tie into the fact that there's no cleanse on the Ashe. Getting hit by that binding maybe wasn't a forced fight, but obviously, I think if we're looking to play topside, the other side of the map kind of has to be like, okay, unlucky, we have to give this up. I think so. Yeah, a bit of a blunder there from Oryx Arctic bot lane, I would say. But here we're gonna see the team fight play out for this big Nico ultimate leads to probably a death from uh, Oryx Arctic sides. Nocturne is dead. And yeah, this is going to tie into the Amumu buffing AP damage. Rift Herald finishes up Ari, and yeah, it's just going to be another death for Aatrox. So yeah, this is kind of what I mean as well. Like if you don't have top prio and you don't have the top prio, you shouldn't be playing for Herald. I think big mistake from Oryx Arctic, I think, to do this. If we look at where the wave is in top lane, look at all the CS that is missing, look at where he should be, look at how much he should be pushing away. Already spoken about that. Obviously, then Zyra getting killed under the tower as well. That's just normal hate Morgana things. I mean, you're very vulnerable under the tower. You're vulnerable pretty much everywhere in the lane, which is where the strength there comes from, and there's not much you can do about it because of the Morgana spell shield, the Caitlyn E to just create some space, create some slows, traps. Like there's just a lot of danger with Caitlyn Morgana. Rift Herald goes mid. I think that's good. Get some gold into your Nico. Um, Caitlyn is excelling on her own, so I think there's no need to really put gold into there. And top lane is doing fine at the moment. They're just chilling. So yeah, taking a quick look at the state of the game right now. I'm gonna wait for bases to come through for. Okay, it looks like Nico's not gonna base. Okay. Um. mm, on red side, on Oryx side, I think there's no real items completed. Um. There's a plated steel caps coming in for Aatrox, and that's about it. And in return, on the other side, you have like the Sheen, the Halfbound Axe. I think that's just a really clear indication of how this game has gone for RX Arctic, right? There's a massive goal difference already at 12 minutes. And I think that really sums it up, right? If we look at bot lane, you have the Collector Berserkers against Berserker's double longsword dagger. And I think that's just really the summarization, right? I think at this point now, we see Oryx looking to roam. Mm, Gets caught up by the bandage. I think he's gonna be safe. He's got the ult. I think this is a bit of a blunder that he gets hit by the second one of those, but I think it's fine. Good flash, good ultimate. So right now, Oryx Arctic, they have to play entirely for picks. Right, that's all their champions really actually excel in right now. They can't team fight because of how far behind in gold they are, and the fact that Youko is playing a very team fight oriented team comp. So they really just have to be trying to play with Nocturne ult as much as possible, try and couple it with Ashe ult, Zyra ult, Nico charm, like just these kind of things. And I think for Aatrox, this at this point they kind of just want to leave him alone, let him scale up a bit because he's really far behind at the moment. Um, and so he's not really a pick champion. He's entirely a team fight champion. And I think team fights will only start being unlocked for Oryx at about 3, maybe 4 items. So the fact that they're not even at 1 yet is a very bad sign for them. They're looking to want to play team fights. So they should definitely, I think, just be looking to play with Nocturne and Ashe, Zyra, Ahri. Basically, this full group has to be looking to do picks as much as they can. I think Zyra, Ashe can maybe look to do it on their own as a duo, and then you have the Nico, not Nico, Ahri, Nocturne looking to do it as a duo themselves as well. So I think that's how they have to look to play this, and then top lane obviously just scales, right? So um, yeah, I think that's what they're going to look to do here. Drake coming up in 4 minutes. Obviously, they had to give the last one. I think a bit of a blunder for Nocturne to be standing at the blast cone. I think if you know you can't contest it, you should rather look to go play a different side of the map. He's had his ult up now for a relatively long time, and I think he rather should have taken that opportunity to use it. Maybe look top. Even though I just said we shouldn't play top, if that's the only place you can play, I think that's where you have to look to play. Try and move Ahri up as well, and try and use that 3 group to make something happen on the other side of the map. Um, and yeah, I think that's what they have to do. A bit of a quiet moment now. Uh, Top gonna trade. I think the best part about the Aatrox here is it's not under a lot of threat. I think it can really just be safe and kind of chillax if it needs to. So I think that's the best part about the situation. I think for Oryx. Here we see Nocturne looking bot. I think this is a good try. Think this is what they should be doing, but he's gonna go back to Gromp. Okay. Yeah, so again, I think a massive problem here is the fact that Nocturne ult hasn't been used for a while. I think you want to be using it basically off cooldown when you have the Nocturne champion. And I think this is incredibly forced. I think this is a very, very big mistake by Oryx, and you can really see desperation start to kick in now because I think it's just I think Oryx has drafted themselves into a little bit of a bad situation, right? I'm gonna go back and look at this because this is incredibly forced, right? So if we look here, we see them positioning, we see the Ash arrow go out, and we also see it miss. So Ash arrow has missed, which is a really big part of uh of the of our pick potential, right? The next part is Zyra. So Zyra flashes forward, but then the spell shield's going to come into play at the target you probably are going to hit is going to be spell shielded. So I wouldn't be surprised if Nocturne has targeted um, the spell shielded target. That's me, sorry. Um, And that's a big problem here because it's really hard because yeah, okay, he doesn't go on the special target, which is a good start, but Zyra is dead right away. And even if the Amumu hadn't been here, I think this is a really bad position to be in because I don't think there's much threat. Because look, if we look here, uh, Morgana is the one that was targeted, not Caitlyn. So Caitlyn is going to be free to hit here, and I think yeah, I mean I think if this had been a 2v2 situation, or even a 2v3 rather for Youko, I think they would have still come out on top because of the Ash Arrow missing the target. And so yeah, I think very forced, and it's not forced by Yuko. We forced it as Oryx, so I can't even say it's like it's a forced mistake. It's an unforced mistake, which I think is a really bad thing to be doing, especially when you're in such a bad position in the game. I think there isn't really that much they can do. I think so yeah, a bit of a blunder I think coming out there for Oryx. Um, Obviously, some things could be happening jungle and I mean mid and top, but yeah, nothing really looking like it is going to happen. And yeah, I mean, unfortunately, there's another death, and that's a death pretty much everywhere. And I think at this point, I would say that the game is pretty much over. I think there's 6k gold like goal deficit at 16 minutes. I think it's a really tough game now to come back from. I think the problem here is the fact that we've got the Ari moving into melee range, so Nico isn't even having to like it. Nico's skill shots are like on top of her, so they hit really quickly. I think it's a big mistake from King to try and force it this hard, going really close range when you should be using your ultimate to space. And then obviously Aatrox like really hard fighting in the top lane while being what's it 40 CS down, like 1 kill down, 1 assist down. Like I think it's just bad decisions I think from Oryx all around the board, and it leads to pretty much everyone dying. And yeah, 4 deaths I think for zero. It's really cementing a pretty bad situation. I think the game plan still is to try and pick, but the problem is picks are getting harder and harder and harder. The more you die looking at duels or skirmishes or anything like this, the more you die, the harder it makes your picks because there's more gold, there's more XP, there's more health, there's more everything to get through, and you aren't really getting much for it, right? And I think that is a big problem. I think mid lane is still very gankable, only a 1k difference there, compared to the 2k in top, the pretty much 3.5k AD carry, 600 in support. Like I think like mid lane is probably the weakest lane right now in regards to gold leads for Yuko, which probably means that Nocturne wants to be ganking mid lane as much as possible, trying to find Caitlyn isolated as well. Like for example now, I think now is a really good time. Oh no man, I thought I got completely bamboozled by Nico there. So yeah, Caitlyn not really isolated. I think it's a big problem. Um, so the best bet I think is to play around Nico. Like right now we see Nico alone in bot lane. We see Nocturne moving towards Nico. I think this is very good. But I think Ash Arrow should maybe come out earlier. There should be communication because I think Nocturne ult is up. Yeah, Nocturne ult is up. Ash Arrow is up. I think here in this point it's a really good time to try and look to force something on Nico. But obviously Nico not the easiest to force on with Ash Arrow, considering she just pressed the W in the direction of the Ash Arrow, and unfortunate. Maybe next time you can hit the actual Nico with it. So looking here, no, Aatrox is standing out of his tower. We don't know where mid is, and Nico's pretty far back, so kind of sitting over here somewhere. So if Nico isn't in a position to fight Ash, mid lane is gone, and you are vulnerable. Where and top is vulnerable. Where do we think that the bot lane or the people that were in mid might be moving? And I think the answer here that we have to tell ourselves is, yeah, it's going to be top, right? And even if we don't have to think about stuff like this, I think there's no reason for Aatrox to be contesting the wave here instead of under his tower, right? I think there's absolutely nothing. This is just asking for trouble, I think. And yeah, he got trouble in this. I think, yeah, this is just a bit of a misplay, I think, from Baka Boy, and there isn't really much that they can do about it, right? I mean, they can't really go on Nico. There's no kill threat, so it's basically well, one kill. The RE kill here, I think, is also unnecessary, but I think that was just not really knowing where they were and kind of walking up to get vision or something. So yeah, 2 kills for nothing, and this goal deficit is just getting more and more cemented. And I think at this point, it's pretty much it's just over. I think we can't really contest Baron when it spawns. We can't contest Drake when it spawns. So I think like there is decent Baron damage on blue side. They've got the Gnar, they've got the Caitlyn, they've got a Mumu. So I think that's some good Baron damage, good objective damage rather, should I say. And on red side, there's just really nothing to celebrate, right? Like one items are barely coming in now at 18 and a half minutes. Um, like I really don't know. They can't trade objectives. The best they can do here is play for top, but yeah, that unfortunately is not going to happen. Like okay, we know that they're playing Drake right now as Oryx. I'm very confused why we aren't just all running top side to try and get something. Right, we see Ari moving towards mid, and eventually decides, hey, let me go back top. So they do eventually end up playing for top, but there's really there's not much follow up. And if Ari had been here, I think it would have been easier to pick up the Gnar. So good that they did pick up the Gnar. But now we basically see Ari kind of walked from here, walked down, walked back up, and hasn't done anything at all meaningful. And now they're gonna run mid to try and cover, but then she's kind of sitting with her AD carry support, which isn't exactly where you want to be. And now we are trading tier 1 top maybe for tier 2 mid and potentially an inhib turret. Um, Nocturne goes base. There's nothing really he can do about it, to be honest. He doesn't have R. He's kind of a non-factor right now. Um, yeah, I guess this is the best outcome, right? I don't think they could stop Youko even if they wanted to. So I think it's good to try and trade a tier 1 turret. But unfortunately no tier 1 turret comes either. So unfortunate, but I think best option available. Um and yeah, unfortunately Barker Boy is gonna die for this as well. So yeah, the Barker Boy is gonna die. Baron's gonna come up. I think maybe that's the next objective. Mm, as looking to be played for. But judging from how Yuko is moving, I'm gonna say, yeah, we saw the ping come out. This is really good from King. That's really good. I think it's really good to get a pick like this before Baron. I think that's kind of what your champion has to do. That and put waves, right? Go into the wave, shove it, go wait in a dark corner and wait for someone to walk past. So very good from him, I think, to pick up the support here. I'm not sure how much it changes, considering it's very clear that they want to play for Baron and Morgana not really the best one for dealing Baron damage, but it was good for zoning, right? And but yeah, we see here that Oryx have given up the Baron, which is the right call, I think, and they are instead going to look to play for bot lane tier 1 turret. I think the scary thing here is Angel Anna could teleport bot lane, but decides against it. So objective bounty picked up, a little bit of gold going back into Oryx pockets. I think that's the best they can maybe do. I think apart from only playing for bot tier 1, I think they could also look to use Zyra, Ari push mid wave, and also look to try and play for mid tier 1. But I think getting a tower in response is good from Oryx. But yeah, we see the Hearthbound Axe coming out. Um, yeah, so far I think a little bit weak on catches, but at the same time, it's really hard to catch anyone in this game. I think you can't really pick Amumu. Nico's really hard with her clone. Morgana Caitlyn are walking around like a duo, they're two people on one, which is also really good, I think. So it's for them, for Yuko and Gnar, obviously a lot of mobility, a lot of jumping. It's really hard to pick anyone, which kind of shows the weakness here of this comp. There isn't much pick potential. I think Morgana a really good pick here. I think everything was a really good pick from Yuko. So yeah, a bit of an unfortunate situation. We see Ari just pushing waves, uh, and that's about all that they can do. there's nothing else I really can do. Unfortunate counting minions, but if we go back here, um, that minion is not Baroned. Obviously, it looks like she knows about it, so yeah, a bit of an unfortunate one. I think maybe standing. There's nothing really. I think like if you can hit RH Charm, Nico can hit you with the E. So yeah, caught out there as well. And now it's going to be a rotation into top side. I think that Youko can end on this Baron play. Um, again, they should be seeing that this minion isn't, and they do. Okay, so very good. They kill Nico. Very very nice. They look to play top. I think it's very greedy, but a lot of healing from Aatrox unfortunately doesn't matter much. Will still die, but I think a really good play from Arctic around the board. I think really good ideas. They are unfortunately, I think, going to lose Nocturne here. Yeah, they do unfortunately lose Nocturne. So I thought it was a good idea, a good attempt, but unfortunately, I think gold deficit just playing like a really, really big part here. Very nice kill on Morgana again by King. I think this is still good. He's playing with some range. I think it's really, really good. I think very well done by Oryx Arctic looking to make this play. They obviously have the Ori range, so I think very, very nice. Are they gonna kill Gnar here, or is he gonna survive? No, he dies. That's good. Anna, unfortunately, is there. Caitlyn is there as well. So it will again just be more deaths, and again looking very Yuko favored. But I think this kind of play is what is needed by Oryx. It's just a bit sad it didn't come before. A bit earlier, it would have been really cool to have stuff like this happen. But right now, I think it's just way too late for anything to happen. As we see more plays looking on Nocturne. He might even pick up Caden here, but no, he is just going to get taken. So yeah, at this point, it's just a gold deficit. I think all these plays are sound in theory, but I just think there's nothing you can really do about it anymore. Even in like ideal situations, I think like a 12k gold deficit is just too much for RX to get through. And so yeah, I think the game will be over. Yeah, in the next 2 minutes basically. So I'm just going to skip ahead now. I think there's nothing more to look at here. Goal deficit too big, unfortunately. There are a lot of things that you can maybe clean up in the start, but yeah, we're gonna go straight into the second game here, which is over here, and we can look at. Okay, we can look at this. Okay, so all right, so here's the second game draft for Oryx Arctic versus Yuko. Obviously, Oryx Arctic are blue side now. Um, so we've spoken a bit about the the ideas behind drafting. I spoke about it before in game one, and the only change here in the draft in the bans, I mean, is the fact that Maokai was swapped out for Caitlyn. So obviously we have a correction made there. Caitlyn, I think, is a good ban. I think it's Caitlyn pushes lanes really really hard to deal with. Um, but yeah, so we see the Misfortune come out. I think Misfortune very strong pick. Uh, can also be it can be played in a lot of different ways, right? You can play it in but it's mostly going to be a team fight oriented. So we're committing to team fight as well, just like Yuko did before. And then Yuko respond with Malzahar and Maokai. Now Maokai very very strong. I agree with this completely. Malzahar is a very random pick. I think. I don't know what the theory was behind it, so I'd be interested to hear what the thought was. So obviously Malzahar is going to be looking to at level 6 basically off cooldown ult to your opponent mid lane. Right? That's kind of the idea behind the Malzahar pick. You also have push, so you can get prio, but uh I don't really see the point of the Malzahar pick, but maybe it's just incredible comfort again, like I've said many times before. So they respond then with Leona Amumu. So Leona, I don't agree with. I think it's really not a very good decision that was made. I think again it ties into the fact that you've just blind picked your entire bot lane again. which is really not ideal because it kind of shows that you're not looking to play for bot lane. But if you're picking something like Misfortune Leona, you are wanting to play for bot lane, which I think is the major issue here. So I think the Leona it does pair well with Misfortune, so you do have a very solid duo pairing in bot lane. Unfortunately, it can be countered. Um, Thinking like Alistar or Morgana again could also punish this. Thank you, folks, for following. So I think the Leona is a bit weird to pick early, especially considering we see mid lane picked on R2 by Youko. So I think we could look to counter mid lane here. Obviously, it is still a bit early to counter mid lane, so any of the ideal counters maybe couldn't be played. I'm thinking like Anivia is considered one. Um, Anything with a bit of poke, right? I think Syndra's good as well. But yeah, so I think apart from the Leona, I think we could have maybe swapped that out for a mid pick. I think Amumu, really good, very solid. Again, you've got the Misfortune. You've got a Misfortune Leona Amumu. So looking at just purely Oryx draft, I think it's very, very good to pick the Amumu here. It's good against Maokai. It's good if you're going to pick some AP damage, which is always very nice. Obviously, mid lane you're looking maybe for AP. So yeah, that's pretty solid. I think the Gnar here is good as well. But the thing about a Gnar R3 is it changes the way you ban on red side when you pick your top laner on 3, especially if you're playing like a blind pick top laner on 3, right? Because again, this could be a mistake from Youko, right? You have bot lane open, you have support open, like all of these you can counter both ADC and support. But I think maybe they're thinking, hey, they want to take away Gnar in second phase, which is what we really want. So we have to pick Gnar here, which is also very, very viable, I think. So what I would say here, when you pick a top laner on 3 on red side, you can't really do it on blue side because you don't have bans immediately. You want to ban the big counters to your Gnar, right? Because if we want to pick AD carry then on 4 because it's not really like we have counter pick of AD carry and support, so we don't have to worry about counter picks anymore. So we want to ban counter picks to the Gnar. So I think Malphite is a good one. I think Orianna is not a good one, I would say. Um, we don't really, I think we don't really have to be worried about Orianna. I think that Orianna is strong, but I don't think it's that strong over something like Irelia or Sion or Urgot, and Urgot was in the end picked. So maybe a bit of a blunder on Yuko's side. I can kind of see Orianna ban coming out though, just because of how strong it is. So a little bit of a weird one. I think they're right both ways, right? They would be correct if they wanted to ban Urgot here or Sion here or Irelia here. That would have been right. But also banning the Orianna might also be a very good decision by Yuko. So I'm not going to really say it's good or bad. I think it's just fine. Um, on blue side, they're banning counter picks to the Misfortune. I think yeah. Um, Kai'Sa's good, Samira's good. I think another one that they're missing out on here is Braum. I think Braum is scarier than the Samira, considering the Samira can be shut down really quickly by Leona. She ults, Leona Qs, she ults, Leona ults. Like there's a lot of ways for Leona to shut down the Samira. So I think Braum is a bigger one. I think Braum is very scary for blue side, but I think they're both good bans. So then they pick the Senna, and the thing about Senna is it's a very versatile pick. You can play it AD carry, uh, and then have any support in the game, and it would technically make sense. So good, good pick. I think it's very good that they picked this one here. I also think that Misfortune Leona maybe doesn't have the kill threat required to beat a Senna lane. So to beat Senna lanes, you probably want to be playing something really aggressive. Like a recent example I saw was Draven Blitzcrank, um, which was a very, very, very good, a very good pick into the Senna lanes. I think it provides a lot of threat, and I think it's just a very overall good pick. So I think when you have a Misfortune Leona, I don't think you have the same kill threat as like a Draven Blitzcrank does. So I think Senna is a very good option to go for here, um, as uh, as Youko. Obviously, a Braum lane would have been good as well. Being like a Philios Braum would have been good. But I think Senna is pretty good. And then we see the thing I think is the most wrong with Oryx Arctic is the fourth pick, the Echo. Echo not traditionally good against Malzahar, right? Unless you get like we see it in the game, right? The W, so the stun, it gets blocked by Spell Shield, if Echo is in the circle to get the stun. So the only way it will work is if Echo isn't in the circle when the W hits, and then he jumps into the circle, because then the spell shall get removed from the original W knock, and then the stun will go through afterwards when Echo gets into the circle. But also the same way, Echo really wants to use his ultimate and into the Malzahar R, Malzahar Silence. In between all this and any other CC that might come out, any hard CC, I think it's very challenging to play Echo. So I think the self counter pick coming out here, especially if we're picking it so late, it can't be a self counter pick like it ends up being, right? I think it's a big mistake made by Oryx Arctic to pick the Echo here. Um, Syndra's gone, which could be one. Oriana's gone. Like I think Ari could have again been an option. Maybe I think like just something that can clear spell shield and then can threaten. I think like a Victor is good. Some long range Azir if you can play it. So any of these like I think long range mages could be good in the situation. But I think Echo definitely not the way you ideally want to go. And then Urgot. And personally, I'm a huge fan of Urgot into Gnar. I know some people aren't. I think Urgot Gnar is really, really Urgot favored. So I think I really like this. The only problem is uh, Urgot is a very powerful lane pick, but I don't think he provides much outside of lane. He can provide some split pushing and he can provide some team fights, but he doesn't really provide any of them exceptionally. So the thing with the Urgot into the Gnar here is if you pick it, you basically have to get really, really far ahead with the Urgot. So that basically your little bit gets turned into a lot just because of the gold lead you have, right? So so that's the weakness here of the Urgot, and it has to be fully exploited, and I don't know if it can be, which is the biggest problem I think with the with the Urgot here. But I like it. I think it's good. So I'm happy with. I was happy with it when I saw it. And then R5, where the Youko responds with Seraphine, very powerful center duo, right? Seraphine likes gold. Seraphine has a lot of safety. Seraphine has a lot of setup. Seraphine has a lot of damage. Can play all in. Can play poke. Can play pick. Seraphine, very versatile champion. And it also pairs really well with Gnar specifically. I think Seraphine with Gnar is really really good. Um, so yeah, I think a really solid pick overall here. It's good against the Misfortune. It's good against the Leona. It's good against like immobile targets like most of Oryx. So I think I really like the Seraphine. I think it's a really good pairing. I think it's the best pairing they could possibly do. So yeah, I'm very happy with how this all played out. And then we'll just get into game here quickly. I want to take a look at the 5 point. Okay, so the 5 point here done by, well, it's not even a real 5 point. Looking at the way that they've set up here. So jungler, when you're doing 5 points, wants to be mid lane most of the time. So you normally swap these two around. Jungle mid, and mid kind of wants to be up in the lane so that you can see the entire portion of the lane here, so that people can't kind of sneak into the bush and try and catch your team off guard just by like randomly appearing at the side of the walls, right? So you kind of want to see, if you look here, you want to see on the side on the mouse here this entire area on both sides of the lane, this side and this side. You want to see all of this with where your the person standing in mid lane is your jungle. Um, I mean, not Misfortune. Leona's positioning here is really good, but this should be swapped around. It should be Misfortune here and Leona at the bottom. Purely because Misfortune here can get a lot earlier view of the opponents, and she's a lot safer than if she stands at Tribush. And I also want to speak about this, but I'll speak about it from the top side perspective so that we can all see, because it's the same for both sides, obviously. But yeah, when you're standing at this entrance here, you just want to see this entrance, but you don't want to be standing right here. You want to be standing really far back here so that you can see the entrance, but you aren't in under any real threat, if I can say it like that, from anyone specifically. So I think that's a very important part there as well. But then looking at the way you stand at the tribush, you want to be standing outside of the tribush, basically over here. If you guys can see my mouse, you want to be standing over here so you can see the whole vision, like the river, as well as the top side. Because if you stand in the tribush, people can hug the walls on both sides and kind of appear right in front of you, and it might be too late to react, especially if you're a bit slow on the reactions. It could be a bit late, and so I think that's like the major theory behind where you stand. Also, the tri-bush on blue side is for the support because it's a lot more dangerous than where support is standing right now. So I would swap support ADC and mid jungle, and then obviously top lane is looking to do some cheese strategy, which I think is fine for Urgot Gnar, but obviously doesn't have the position here. So I think maybe Baka Boy could be standing in this little entrance here, and then just before minions spawn, trying to get into the second before like the minions reach the lane, get into that middle bush as he is doing right now. And I think that would have been perfect because right now, as you can see, Gnar walks into lane, drops a ward on blue buff, and that's all the information that they need, right? They know they're starting bot side, they know he's pathing towards the Gnar, so Gnar can then play it accordingly, right? So bit of a mistake there. I don't also like this ward placed here by Oryx. I think it doesn't really provide much value to have a ward there, especially how early they had it. Considering even if Maokai was starting top, that ward basically only clears against a 1/2 camp gank. The moment he does a third camp, it's irrelevant. And I think 1 camp/2 camp ganks are not that important. Um, I also don't know why uh, this ward is here from red side. I like Youko. I don't know why it's there. I guess they're trying to spot a potential Amumu invade on the Raptors. I don't really know why this is a massive deal for them. I'm kind of just thinking about it, but I don't really see the angle here. So I like the ward that they placed on the blue buff. Not a fan of the Raptor ward. I'm not a fan of this blue ward, or the ward by blue side rather that get placed. So yeah, bot start from both junglers. I think this is perfectly fine. I think in this game, Amumu could start anywhere and be happy, right? If he's playing towards the Urgot lane or playing towards Misfortune Leona, I think he's happy. I think there's kill threat on both lanes. So yeah, that's very good. I think for Yuko, your jungler as the jungler in this game, you just want to path however Amumu paths. I think that's the biggest thing. You just want to be wherever he's going to be, because I don't think you have in yourself kill threat on the lanes, but I think you can help your lanes not be killed by Amumu, if that basically makes sense. And you look to play for level 6, where you can then start playing with the Malzahar ultimate and applying pressure like that. So that's kind of how I would expect the junglers to be moving in this game. Um, very early gank here from the start. I'm not a mass fan, and I can explain why. So we gank here nice and early, right? But what this does is it enables Maokai to have decision on what happens now, because you've ganked now, and it's probably not going to succeed. If we look here, I think he can walk up, auto attack, and then Q, right? Just to get a bit of a stun, maybe like right over here. Maybe he can get some tag in the stun of Echo, but I think queuing right off the bat like that is very bad. And so then we see him get traded on very, very negatively, very, very bad trade for the Stort. And now he's low HP. Obviously, he's a jungler, so he's going to regen it as he kills caps, right? But yeah, now Maokai is the one controlling. She's probably going to get to the Scuttle Crab first, which is not ideal if you're looking to play topside as Oryx, right? You want to get to the Scuttle Crab, get that vision down, have a little bit of movement speed around there, play your top mid comfortably. But yeah, I'm not a fan of it. I don't think there was a kill angle. I think Echo's too early in the game for him to really have a kill. We see Echo with Ignite again, which is yeah, I mean, I guess you're playing an assassin, right? So you kind of need that in this lane. But yeah, it does. I will say this: it does give King some pressure in the lane, considering there's no spell shield, so damage, like any spells he hit now, will be permanent, basically, which is nice for him. So in that regard, it is a good gank. But yeah, here we basically see what's happening, right? Maokai 20 CS, Amumu 16, um, Angel Anna in a little bit of trouble here. We're gonna have to flash. So very good from King, I think. I think that's also built off the Amumu gank, so I will give credit there to where it's due. I think it does help his mid laner relieve some pressure, right? I think a thing here about how Maokai's path, she's clearing Krugs, but it leaves the Scuttle Crab very vulnerable. I mean, if you look at her positioning compared to where Amumu's positioned in terms of the Scuttle Crab, I think it's very hard. And yeah, she's gonna have to give it up considering they see her. So she knows they see her. So what you could see from the way she moved there, going back around. And yeah, I think that's all pretty solid. Bot lane is kind of just how it's supposed to be. I don't think there's really much. I don't think there's really much kill threat. I mean, they are playing the PTA Misfortune, which means that technically you can look to get some sort of damage down if the Leona engages, but it is really hard. So I can understand why the engage isn't happening. And so yeah, basically we see Amumu take up the top scuttle. We see Maokai trade for bot scuttle. Basically how it should be. There's pressure from mid. You can do whatever you want as Maokai in this game. You just can't be playing top because there's no pressure in top. So yeah, a gank going up in top lane, or maybe not a gank, just showing up in the lane. Basically looks like, and yeah, that's that. Drake is coming up, which I think RX want to play for. They do have the ability to push for Prior. Seraphine does block pushing for Prior. It does block it, but I think there is the possibility to use the pressure from the Leona, because I don't think Seraphine Senna can kill the Leona just yet, um, especially since she's full HP. So I think they can use this pressure to look to play for Drake. And if they can't get mid Prior, they can also look to move Amumu into the mid lane. The spell shield's broken, which means Amumu does have a kill threat in the mid lane. So that's something they can do as well. So I think Drake should be playable, as we see here. A lot of damage, and yeah, Gnar is dead. Very nice from Baka Boy. Very good. That's kind of exactly what you need, right, from this lane. Like I said before, you kind of want to be getting the Urgot really far ahead as soon as possible, and then that's just kind of how that's gonna go. Um, so yeah, that's that. Level sixes come up for mid lane. Now this is very Youko favored, right? I think Youko really want to be making use of this level six, right? Maybe not playing for Echo if they can't, but rather getting the push in mid with the Malzahar. I mean, that is kind of what his champion does, push lanes. So you kind of want to push mid lane and then try and move to a different lane, right? I think right now they kind of want to maybe look to shut down the Urgot. He's got a kill, right? You kind of want to go up there, shut him down with the Malzahar ult, kill him potentially, and then kind of because of that pressure, top lane is nullified, and so then you can look to play back to bot mid, right? Just kind of don't want Urgot to snowball out of control here, which is a real threat for Youko right now. And I think it's something Oryx need to look to do. They need to look to try and keep this Urgot as happy slash safe as possible. And yeah, we see an engage coming in here from Oryx, but not much they can really do. Spells are gone. And yeah, this is very good from Youko. I think it's very important that you look, like I said, to play for getting the Urgot behind, and I think this is doing it really well. And the problem here is we see Maokai topside, but we can't even play for Drake, right? Look at the bot lane Prior that we have. We don't have bot lane Prior, which is the joke I was kind of making there. We haven't based yet. Like, there's nothing we can really do at this precise moment. Which is really sad. I think maybe we can look to force it. No, we decide not to. Okay, so this is bad from Oryx. I think this is really bad from Oryx. Obviously, like I said, that we have so much ability to do things. With the team comp we drafted, right? We can play around top, we can play around bot, we can look to play around mid, we can do objectives, we can trade, we can do a lot of things. But what's happened here in this last passage of play over the last minute and a half is we see Youko responding well to the way their game has changed. Right, the Urgot, they've recognized it's a big threat. Right, it's very good into the Gnar. It needs to be ahead, and so they've shut it down. But in doing so, they've created this really big hole that can be like walked through by Oryx, in the fact that the jungle is top, Drake is up, and we had mid prio. Oryx had mid prio, and I think maybe you don't even need bot prio. But bot prio can be achieved just by Amumu walking into the lane, just because of it being Misfortune Leona. Like, Misfortune Leona Amumu is a really scary trio, right? I wouldn't be the one having to face that trio. And that's kind of the problem here, is the fact that we just didn't really do anything. We kind of just cleared camps in the response to the play that was made, which needs to be fixed, right? We can't just be doing nothing. because now we've kind of lost on both sides of the map, right? Senna Seraphine got a free base. Um, Maokai got a kill. Got shut down. Like it's just there's nothing really positive about that whole interaction, right? For RX, which is a problem. And now we see they're going to give up Drake as well, maybe potentially, maybe even the Herald. I don't think they can give up Herald just because of not having to base here, not having the TP. So they can't play for Herald just yet, and Urgot should still have Cryo in the top lane. So, yeah, um, Cryo mid lane, it's pretty easy, right? We have Echo, just gonna kind of throw the his spells at the wave, and bye-bye wave, right? So it's pretty simple, I think, to get Prio mid. Maybe not Prio, but definitely matching Prio. I think this is a really good gank. I think this is a really, really good gank from Oryx. Unfortunate that yeah, they aren't really going to be able to do much. Um, and unfortunately, actually, yeah, there you go. Urgot just walks down, throws an ult, picks up the kill. Very, very good, I think. Bot lane, this is the I'm gonna say the problem with the bot lane, right? There's just a lot of kill threat. Level 6s have been reached, still level 5 on the Leona. Big wave that is now being lost because of the timing of the fight. Like, did we start this? I don't know if we did. Yeah, we kind of started this. So, okay. So in a situation like this, where there's a big wave coming on the tower, we are at a level disadvantage. We kind of just want to be walking back, right? Especially if we realize that they're both level 6. Like, they are very, very powerful right now. Especially with Seraphine, right? Seraphine charm, like Seraphine ult into the root. Which, I mean, stun is going to be really, really scary to deal with, really hard to deal with. And Senna damage isn't low at this precise moment, right? So I think a bit of a blunder from the Oryx bot lane. I think you probably want to be waiting kind of close to your tower. Wait for the wave to crash, wait for the bounce, get a bit of minions behind you, and then look to play the fights, right? Also, I think you want to be the one engaging with Leona. I don't think you want to be engaged on, which is also the problem here. But I think it's like Leona can't engage. She's level 5, they're level 6, she engages, it's just kind of lost immediately, right? So yeah, a bit of a mistake I think made. At the same time, our top lane does get another kill, a bit of a steal going on there as well. I think Urgot should really not be getting those kills. I think Nor might be a little bit upset after that, but yeah. I don't think Nor can do this. I think this is really poor from Nor. I think it's really it's 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 too early, I think, to go in. Obviously, it's really good that Void Bunny is here as well to cover. So another kill given over to Gnar, which is really good for how you want to play. I think it's too early from Gnar, right? Like I think this, if that E is a bit better timed, I think Gnar is dead before Maokai even reaches the fight, right? I think that could be very scary. But yeah, in the end, good result from Youko. Good recognition of what's going on, right? Like they're winning bot lane, they're kind of doing fine mid lane, they're winning jungle. Like top lane is the only lane that isn't super chilling right now, and putting him even more behind, I think, is really really good. Um, so yeah, that's kind of that. This is just how mid lane goes, right? Melee versus ranged. I think it's just not good, right? I think Echo can't even do anything right now. He doesn't have ult. Even if he did, Malzahar does have ult, so he's just in a lot of trouble right now, to be honest. So I think that's something he has to keep in mind as well. Um, good stun going there. Good little trade back from King. Drake still hasn't been taken. 10 minutes. I think now they're looking to play Herald, which I think is really good. Only thing I'd complain about in this Herald play is the top wave hasn't been pushed. Right? So we're just kind of losing creeps for no reason as Oryx. So I think here in this case we want to push first, then look to play Herald. But we do get the Herald. We probably want to place that top lane, right, to try and get this Urgot even more accelerated, getting him a little bit of gold. 126 gold, I think, if you take 2 plates with the Herald, but only maybe a bit less. Um, but yeah, so I think that's important. Good trade from bot lane. I think that's really good to reduce some of the pressure. Can also look to play maybe for the Drake now. But yeah, Amumu's top side, so maybe not. I think this is a perfect angle. We know they're looking to play for Drake. As I think this is a really good angle to go look top side. Try and get the tower, try and break the tower, try and kill Nar. Kind of any of these things I think is really good to do. But we see here he's looking to play for mid lane, and they do get the kill. And it also goes over to Echo as well. So very good. I think it's good that they use that time to do something. I think the problem now is the fact that Herald hasn't been dropped. I think that was a really good Herald timer usage, like a really good Herald usage timer. Sorry, not Herald timer usage. I think they could have used Herald there, but I think it's fine for them. Getting a kill on Echo relieves a bit of that pressure, gets Echo some gold, lets him move around a bit, as we see him in bot lane right now. But I think he should look to base. I think there's not much they can maybe do there, but it looks like he will stay, and looks like Senna's gonna walk right into them. So a bit slow, I think, from Leona in this case. I think to not see this, but we see a fight going on. Okay, the problem here is that the fight's going on in two different places, right? We see the fight in bot side, we see the fight on top side, but it is looking like it looks good. We get the one kill, and Senna is in a little bit of trouble, so Senna might also die. They do pick up a Mumu in return, and yeah, they will now look to try to get Maokai. Just a very scrappy fight, to be honest. I think it's just very, very scrappy. Ends up being a 1-for-2, so I think very happy with that is Oryx. No, it looks like it's a 2-for-2. And yeah, kill for King. Okay, okay. Very, very scrappy fight. We see Seraphine. Seraphine died first, had the respawn timer, walked back, and that's when the fight kind of ended. So very long fight, very scrappy fight. I think Oryx is happy with this fight, right? Gives them a little bit of gold, gives them a bit of an injection, a little bit of gold injection, which is really nice for them. Getting it on people that matter too, right? Mumu or Leona didn't get anything. It was entirely Echo and Misfortune, which is really, really good, I think, for Oryx. It's good that you get gold on carries. Um, but yeah, I think it's a bit bad that it was traded back kind of evenly, right? Like the only reason that they got the third kill there, the kill advantage and the kill result advantage, kill advantage result, is the fact that the Echo had to use his ult at the end of the fight, and look to just kill Senna quickly. So he did do it, which is good, but I think it's a bit scary that it has to be this even. I think is the big problem here. Right now, I see a lot of problems, right? We see Amumu running straight down mid lane to drop the Herald. It seems a bit like a panic Herald, I won't lie. This is really good for Misfortune. They get the kill on Senna. They could also look to try and get the kill on Seraphine if he can get in range, but good flash from both. In that situation, a bit of a micro thing for Leona. If you want to hit that auto attack, you have to Q right click the Seraphine, then flash, and basically the attack will be instantaneous. If you flash and then look to auto attack, it's possible to be flashed as well. So just something for him if he ever does listen to think about. Um, but yeah, I will talk about this Herald usage. They used it mid. I don't even know if I don't even think like did yeah, Echo does get some gold, I think. Yeah, he does get some gold. I don't know if you want to be using this on Echo. And the reason I'm saying this is because Urgot is still like your major strength. Your Urgot is 14 CS down, and 2-2. So he hasn't really gotten this lead that he probably would have wanted. I think giving him 120 extra gold, I think would be really, really useful to him. I think it would really help your game as well. Giving it to the Echo, Echo still will struggle with the exact same things he's struggling with. Having a 120 extra gold isn't going to change the fact that if he goes forward, he will get Malzahar ulted. But it's not going to change anything about that. Um, I don't think it gives him any power spike immediately. Like, I don't know how much it helps, which is the problem with that Herald. Whereas a Herald on Urgot, I think it does wonders. You get the tower, you get the first tower. You get all this pressure and so much gold being injected into the Urgot just because of how he's been playing, right? Like, I think if Urgot gets the Herald plus a gank at this precise moment, a good gank where you get the kill Gnar, I think that's first tower, gold to Urgot, plate gold to Urgot, and kill gold to Urgot if possible, which is a really, really nice investment. Whereas with Echo, there's not much you can really do, to be honest. You can't really kill Malzahar, I don't think, with a good gank from a Mumu. I don't think it's very easy, especially with the flash up, the ult up. The Herald doesn't really, like, Echo doesn't kill towers as well. And so I think that's the big issue there with how they've used the Herald. But I think apart from that, it's fine. Bot tower goes down. Unfortunately, that first tower goes to Youko bot lane. If you're an Oryx fan, I think that's really not good. Um, Considering I think Misfortune Leona probably had more pressure early that they could have maybe used, which is unfortunate, I think, for Oryx. But it is just how the chips have fallen. Um, Drake coming up in 50 seconds, which is nice. It's gonna be a Cloud Drake, so we won't be seeing a Chemtech or a Cloud Soul in this game, which is nice. I think probably one of the more boring souls, I would say. But yeah, I don't think any of these teams particularly enjoy Cloud Soul. Chemtech Soul could be nice, but yeah. This is yeah, this is very good from Urgot. I like the build of Urgot as well. I think it's a really good build. You know, get that damage looks nice. You know, gives you endorphin rush when you see the auto attacks going out. Um, so yeah, here we see. Okay, this was the example of what I meant on how Echo Stun works. If you look here, how it works here, you see the Echo. The ability goes out, kills the spell shield. He walks in, gets the stun. That's kind of how that works in regards to Echo Malzahar stun. But yeah, not very easy. Right, it takes a lot of micro to use that consistently. So I think not the ideal situation. But a bit of a Drake's coming up, right? We have first move from Oryx. They get on top of onto the Drake first, get the vision down, so they kind of know exactly what's going on right now, which is really good. I think they can also look to play for the dragon here. Urgot getting the kill top lane, I think, is really really big as well. He really needs to like the Urgot really needs to show how strong he is right now, and he needs to use the fact that he's so strong, right? I think he maybe could look to play the Drake here. I mean, not the Drake, the tower. Get another tower over to his side, but Oryx do get the Drake, which is really nice. Senna not Sarah, Seraphine not there, being dead basically makes it a lot easier. Teleport goes up top lane. It's the Nara teleport. So at this point, I think Urgot should just run away. I think he's very safe to run away. But yeah, Amumu coming top, maybe looking to make a play happen. They do have the Urgot ult available to them. So if they can get on top of Senna here, I think it would be really, really good. They do get on top of Senna, burn the flash, and get the stun. And that's, again, another kill for Urgot. So very good, I think, from Oryx here. They've also kind of recognized now that the Urgot is like the strength of the team. But they really do need that Urgot to be getting big and dealing, like, actually being a threat. Okay, here is a very weird situation, I think. Looking at this, I think it's a very weird situation, right? For what reason is Urgot Amumu walking into this brush? So I'm going to think about this for a while because like, what is there to play for? So there's a Herald to play for, but your Misfortune is not in a position to join. And like, if there was a fight happening here in this area, right, in this area, how do we win it? How does Oryx Arctic get out on top in this exchange, right? I don't like what are they thinking here? And the problem is I can't really figure it out, which is the problem. And I think this is just kind of running it, right? Like look at how your team's positioning. Your Leona's moving away from you guys. Echo's waiting here for something to happen, like in the river. You know, Misfortune is not even close to any fight. So what is the point of fighting here? I don't see it, unfortunately. And yeah, that ends up in both Urgot and Amumu dying. And yeah, Seraphine getting the shutdown. And that's basically Herald over to Youko if they want it. I don't think Oryx can contest this at all now. Jungler's dead, their gold in top lane is dead. Like there's no way for them to contest, which is unfortunate. Maybe a bit of random positioning. Maybe there's a thought here that I'm not thinking of, right? Like there's probably something here that they knew that I didn't. Um, so yeah, that's that. Drake 3.5 minutes. Obviously got that to play for. Game is a lot closer this time than it was in the last game. I think it's a lot closer, which is good. I think last game was a bit of a stump from Youko, so this is definite improvement from RX Arctic, I would say. Um, so at least there's that to be like happy about. And this is really really good from King. I think it's, yeah, very very good kill from King. Don't know what really killed Senna at the end here. Like, what is it? So the Ignite is still Ignite. Okay, very good. Ignite value. There we go. This is good. I think 1v3 getting the kill, even though we trade the tower. I think it's really good for RX Arctic that this happens. Um, I think here Urgot is a little bit. He's acting a little bit too scared, right? He's leaning backwards. He's not playing on the tower. He's not pushing waves. Like he's not really. He's not really necessarily um what's the word here, right? He's not necessarily like pushing his lead, which I think he could be. Right, he's going into the Black Cleaver now. Right, he's really strong. He's got the Titanic Hydra. He's got the Pale Steel Caps. Like I think he's really strong, and it feels like he's not using it much right now, which is kind of the problem here. I think everyone else is in a bit of a dire position. I think Echo is just so much CS behind that even though he's 3-0, I think the CS deficit right now is just too big. Like I don't know if we can look at gold soon or not, but looking at the gold lead, I think that's mostly going to be comprised of the mid and AD carry, respectively. The gold deficit they will be in mid and AD carry, I think, which is not good if your two carries are the ones in gold deficit, but it is just how the chips have fallen in this game, right? So it's just how it is. Drake in 1 minute 40. Baron's up. Looking at Baron damage, blue team has good Baron damage if Echo, Urgot, and Amumu are all there. Red team doesn't have the best Baron damage. So red team, like I think Oryx doesn't have to be scared of Youko dealing like doing a sneaky Baron or something. I don't think they have the damage to do so. And oh, did I just see that correctly? Did Misfortune R? You know what? I'm not even gonna say anything about that one. I think that's just a mistake. They lose tower, they lose flash, they lose ult, they lose heal, they lose absolutely everything for that. The Stord goes back in. I don't think he can die, and Leona dies in the back. So yeah, suddenly in the space of 2 minutes, they've gone from a 1k, 1.1k to a 3k gold lead. Yuko, and at the same time, bot lane is not really like this is good. I think Urgot just wins. I think he hasn't noticed it yet. I think at one point maybe he does. I don't know why Zestort is necessarily looking to do something here alone. I like this is just really random. If he hits this, I guess he hits Curse of Sad Mummy and it's possible, but he ends up just dying. And yeah, it's really sloppy passage of play from Oryx Arctic, I think here, right? We obviously we started off really strong. We were good until about 18 minutes, and the last 3.5 minutes have been poor, I think, from Arctic. It seems like they haven't really had a game plan. We see here this is basically the problem. Echo dies with ult, and I mean that's not really Echo's fault. It's just how his champion works, right? So we're gonna lose tier 2 mid here as well. Um, Misfortune might also be under a bit of threat. I think not quite. And then yeah, Misfortune's dead. Leona goes in, looks to do something, but it's Leona, right? Not really possible. So yeah, 4 minutes of really sloppy play, right? We kind of go in one by one, misplays, not rotating, not collapsing properly. It's just been a very sloppy 4 minutes, and I mean it's not even over yet, right? Like we see the Herald go down bot lane, bot tier 2 is taken. Like the Herald's probably gonna get another crash. Drake's taken. Like I think this is where the game has been lost for Oryx, right? I think this is probably the end of the game. They obviously still have very very good team fight, right? They're very very good team fight, and the Mountain Soul isn't really going to benefit either team too amazingly, right? So Soul isn't like a really huge win condition for any team, but I think this is like kind of the problem now. I think with Oryx is how do you come back from this, right? There's like a massive gold deficit. We're 6k gold down right now, right? We're 6k gold down, 4.8k of which came in the last 4.5 minutes. So how do we, as RX, fix this now, right? We have very strong team fight, but we need them to be in a very small area, a very compact area. So we want to be fighting in the jungle. I think jungle fights are really, really, really good for RX right now, right? Yuko also wants to be fighting in chokes, so it's really good for both teams to be fighting in chokes, right? We have the Gnar ult, we have the Maokai ult, we have Seraphine ult, Senna ult, right? Like Malzahar ult is going to be exclusively used for Echo. Like I don't see a Malzahar ult being used for anything except Echo just randomly dies. We do pick up the mid turret, which is really good. Get a bit of a objective bounty into our pockets. And top, we see Urgot looking to threaten Seraphine. Um, with does he even manage to threaten? No, they burn flash for flash, which I think is fine. Whatever. Seraphine not having flash, I think is a lot scarier than Urgot not having flash for Yuko. So I think that's a worth trade. Rabadon's being built now for Seraphine, which is good. Looking to get a pick, maybe. We see Senna being caught out, but decide against anything. We see, oh, a very nice Amumu ult. Very, very nice. Leona ult comes out. That's a kill as well. Now we see a team fight happening, and this is kind of what I mean by red, like Youko want to be fighting in chokes, right? But also Oryx want to be fighting in chokes. They kill Malzahar, but I think Senna is just too. I think not Senna. Maokai is just too tanky. Seraphine does too much damage, and yeah, it ends up being. It looks like a 3-for-3. No, 2-for-4. Sorry, I was looking at the wrong team. So 2-for-4, and at the same time, Gnar is split pushing, gets the inhib turret, gets inhib, and will also look to maybe get an auto attack on. No, no, he won't get the auto attack on the turret. Um, Very good for Yuko again, right? I think this also comes back to the gold lead, right? Like you need to, like, okay, if we look at this, if we look at like where the strength comes from, I want to go back to the fight that just happened in the jungle. Okay, if we go back here, where does the strength of fighting in the jungle come from for Oryx, right? And the strength comes from like a misfortune ult with an Amumu ult hitting like a lot of people, and a Leona just kind of being in the way, and an Urgot like just hitting some, right? Red side strength comes from Gnar ult, Maokai ult, and Seraphine Senna ultimate. If we look at how this plays out, right? If we look at how this plays out, Echo kind of gets screwed immediately, right? And we see here, Amumu ult hits 2, but Misfortune is not in a position to impact this at all. Right, as we see here, she kind of starts ulting here to hit nobody. Hits nobody. Maokai ult hits everyone. If we look, Maokai ult comes at an angle which threatens absolutely everyone. Look at this. Look at this Maokai ult, right? Into which Seraphine ult hits 4 people. The suppression comes out. It's on Urgot this time, which I think is the biggest problem. I think if that hit Echo, it was a lot easier, I think, solution. But so basically, we fought in the jungle, which is a strength for both teams, but Oryx didn't play to their strengths, and Youko did play to their strengths, right? Like, Youko obviously coming out very far on top in this exchange, getting a lot of kills, getting a, what, two for 4, basically. And they also end up getting an inhib and an inhib turret, which is a lot of gold, right? And that was a 5v4 fight for Oryx. They just didn't really play to their strengths. They chased really hard. They committed a lot for nothing. And I think that's the biggest problem that I would have recognized in this team fight. Um, Misfortune obviously in a bit of trouble. I think he'll get away though. It's not enough damage from Maokai alone. And yeah, they might look to try and siege this tower. I think it's really good from Yuko. They haven't tried to force a Baron that they couldn't take yet. I think they don't have much Baron damage with Senna, Seraphine, Malzahar. Like Gnar has a lot of Baron damage, but he's building into the Hull Breaker. So it's a really good catch. I think they're looking to they do pick up Maokai. They lose Echo for it. No, they don't. Echo kills Senna, dies for it in the end though, and then Seraphine dies as well, and Malzahar dies as well. Okay, very big. 1-for-4 this time. I want to just look at how this fight started, right? Because we see here, um, Yuko pushed really far up. Then Maokai spots Urgot and decides to take that fight himself. Um, I think, yeah. So if we look here, I think it's very poor to kind of think that this is over, right? Like if we look here, nothing went on King when he's going to respawn. He hits the ult. He one-shot Senna. He does eventually die. But yeah, I mean, at this point, it's just they don't have Gnar here. They don't have Gnar in a position to split push. Like there's just mm, open space, no ultimates used really, except Senna ultimate. I think it's just yeah, very interesting. I think this is a good decision from Oryx, right? I think there's Urgot has a lot of Baron damage. I think Amumu has a lot of Baron damage, especially if there's another AP source around. Obviously, there isn't in this case. But I think, like, if we look here, Urgot is just doing a lot of damage to the Baron. I think Urgot is just really hitting Baron really hard. And yeah, this is going to be Baron secured for Oryx. So a very weird turn of events again, right? The gold deficit has shrunk by a lot. It was 4K or 6K or something. Now it's 2K. And I think 2K is a lot more manageable, 26 minutes, right? Because people do have their items, right? We have 2 items on like every single carry except like every single carry, 3 items on Urgot, right? Like at this at this point, 2K gold is worth maybe what is it like uh 2 3 components, right? Which is not that bad, not that hard to deal with, right? Obviously, the strengths and the weaknesses are still the same; they don't change, right? There's no substantial goal lead where some of your weaknesses can be mitigated. I think it's a very even game again, off the back of that Baron, off the back of that team fight. And so again, we're looking to play in enclosed spaces. I think we're looking to give Echo an access to any of the carries, any of them. All of them are worth something. Another objective bounty claimed by Oryx. I don't know how the objective bounties are still on the map, considering there's only a 1.2, 1.3k deficit now. There was a 2k before that. So yeah, here we see Urgot TPing early, looking to get some pressure for Drake, which I think is really good. Get some armor, magic resist in as blue side. I think here Leona stepping up like this is really, really dangerous. I think there's not she doesn't have sustain, doesn't have damage mitigation, doesn't have much. So I think her being really far up is really dangerous. They're obviously leaving not on the side, then he can't impact the fight with TP. So this is okay. So I have a slight issue with this fight, and looking now, so Leona's in a bit of threat, she's going very deep. So I'm gonna replay this fight because I just wanna take a look, right? So it starts off with an echo. Yeah, W. So the echo W starts the fight. And the problem here is you have Leona and you have a Mumu and you have Urgot. These three are the ones you want to be starting a fight. As we see what happens here, Echo jumps in with his team nowhere near a position fight. I mean, Leona's off the screen here, or like right there, that's Leona. And Amumu is like here, and Misfortune is in Tribush. So there's absolute like who's impacting this fight? He goes in alone, gets suppressed, and immediately put in under a lot of pressure. Look at his health bar, and he hasn't hit anything yet. And this is the person who you want to assassinate a carry. Right, obviously very, very nice stun, I think, from Leona onto the Seraphine, right? Really stops her from doing anything, doesn't get any damage off. And then Seraphine R hits kind of no one. Misfortune R as well hits only like Seraphine R and Misfortune R both only hit one target. Um Echo's dead. We have Amumu trying to fight Melzahar on the side here. We see Amumu, and then we see Leona trying to fight here, and then Urgot kind of doesn't know where to go. Misfortune doesn't want to fight at all, and it's just a very messy fight. And yeah, it's not even done yet, right? Like here we go. Amumu looks to fight again. He get something, but Urgot is at the back here. Misfortune can't hit just yet. Now she can, right? So a little bit of pressure, but she's rooted. She's having damage dealt because Malzahar is pressuring from really far. King can't really one-shot the Malzahar just because he's like so weak and doesn't have spells and stuff. And so then Urgot goes in late, and a very messy team fight. Both teams didn't play it particularly well. But the thing is, Youko stayed together. Oryx did not. Right? They split their entire fight. Like even Malzahar, while being split, was impacting the fight that was going on. If we look back here, like Malzahar has hit a spell on like these two. I think Misfortune Leona. Like look, there's the Q hits two people, right? And it's a silence on the Misfortune, so you can't use spells. But there's nothing more to use, right? All that they have left is Urgot ult, but they're full HP targets, and Malzahar is also like really high. King can't one-shot anyone anymore because he doesn't have anything. He used his stopwatch, he used his Hextech rocket belt, he used his ultimate, like he used everything. He doesn't have flash, he only has Ignite up right now. And it's just a very sloppy fight. And like, look, like they're all together. Urgot hasn't even been a part of this fight yet. And that's like a lot of their gold, right? He's 7-3. Like he's very, very strong. And yeah, he's gonna end up dying, I think. Yeah, he will die. So it ends up being a 0 for 3, and I don't know if this tower, top tower was taken or if no, it was taken by Gnar at the same time. That's 600 gold. He's also going to look to hit the inhib turret. The dragon is also taken, and it's sole point a one team fight. Inhib turret, tier two top turret. Like it's just a lot of gold going in, and the gold lead is now 4k. It was equivalent of 2k gold off that one play that happened, and I think it's just like I said, just very sloppy from Oryx, right? I think here is a good time for them to fight as well. Once key ultimates come up, they do lose mid inhib. They're gonna probably lose top inhib as well. They do have Baron still though, so a little bit of defense coming from that Baron, but yeah, the game has been kept close. It's been kept close. It's been like really one favor, then back, and then here we see Seraphine in a bit of trouble. Like Seraphine is almost dead, but there's just no follow up really. They do kill the Seraphine, but it's just two people against four, five, four. Like it's two against four, and like Misfortune eventually comes back. And look at the damage that the Misfortune does, but it's just too late, right? Like even Senna is she's also gonna die, but like imagine if you kept these ultimates to play for playing together, right? Like they're playing separate. Like a Mumu Leona is not the person you want to be like the duo group you want to be taking on a five stack, like a 4-man stack or a 5-man stack, right? You want to have a carry with a support, right? Like a Mumu and Misfortune would have been amazing. I think they would have killed everyone right up there. But yeah, they're playing a very weird style of play, right? Where they're not playing with the right groups of people. They're not playing together, and they're just kind of playing. It kind of looks like solo queue from Oryx side. I think Youko look very compact. They make the good decisions together, and they make the bad decisions together. Whereas Oryx kind of looks a little bit split on the decisions that they're making. Um, but the game's not over. The gold lead has shrunk back to 2k over shutdown and yeah, the fight that happened before. They still do have one inhib. Um, Baron's up in 1.5 minutes. Drake's up in 3 minutes. Um, they're going to probably look to play towards the top side, looking at the map. Um, Clear out some vision. Look to prep for the Baron. I think they want to do. They have got damage now as their carry scale up to more and more items, so I think they can do Baron right now. And they have the Gnar in the bot lane. You know, you kind of want to have him separate just because of the way he's building. Triforce, Hullbreaker, Black Cleaver, big threat to anyone who does try and contest him. But he's also gonna look. She's also gonna look to base now. Pick up a pickaxe. Run back on the map. So I think this is good. I think this is good from Oryx, right? We've got our group together, right? We have the Leona, the Amumu, and the Misfortune all in the same general area. Obviously not playing entirely together yet, which is a bit of a mistake. But yeah, we see kind of everyone meeting up now to try and play. There's going to be a death bush from Youko, which is really scary, but kind of spotted out by Echo, which is a really nice Q. I did a very good sense there to throw the Q into that bush. Walked straight into blue buff bush. Don't know how that exactly happened, but very good sense, I think. Another death bush looking to be made here by Yuko. Baron's up in 15 seconds. I think Nar's moving towards the bots, always looking to flank. He's looking to flank or go bot side. He has Nard out, which is, I think, bad rage management from Gnar, right? I don't think you want to Gnar out before the Baron is even spawned, right? He's gonna be exhausted for a little while, but I think there's no real threat as well, right? Like the Gnar out could be threatening to Oryx, but there's no threat from Oryx to do the Baron at this precise moment. So there's no reason for it to be like a really huge deal. Well, I think Gnar should be starting to gain some rage now of damage and such. Yeah, there it is. So Gnar obviously still very, very bad spot, I think, if we're looking here, right? Like this is yeah, I mean, that's just kind of how that matchup goes, right? Good trading, there's a lot of Baron damage, but the problem is here, this is a really good fight for Oryx, as we see here. Big Leona ult, could have been a big Echo W as well, but he's a bit late. But again, the fight's happening, they kill Senna, Misfortune isn't even there yet. And yeah, she does get there eventually, and yeah, I mean, Baron does go to Yuko, but the fight goes very, very, very favored in Oryx side, which I think is good. I think that's I think that's fine. I think Baron at this point in the game, 33 minutes in, everyone has a lot of items. I think it's easier to deal with than like a 20, 25-minute Baron. So I think it's not too bad. They also have a lot of rotation to. They can rotate first to the Drake here, right? The only thing they have to be worried about is the fact that they don't have ultimates um, on a Mumu, which is it's a big ultimate. But I think they can look to pick up this Drake kind of for free, just because of death timers and all this sort of thing. So yeah, it looks like it's just going to be a dragon over to Oryx. Really good. They win the fight, get the dragon, get some armor, magic resist, a lot of good things. Leona has the base now, and they have their 3 inhibs up. So no more super minions to deal with. So it's just the Baron up minions for Oryx to deal with. Obviously, we still like it's a really weird situation where both teams can win a fight that happens. But it's not guaranteed to go to one team, which is a very cool like a part of the game to be in. Where it's like on a knife's edge, basically 700 gold lead at 34 minutes. That's worth nothing. But it's like 2 long swords. Like it's not worth anything. But the thing that we have to be, oh, he's going, oh, King is one shot. Okay, I think that's gonna be the end of the game. I think it's wait, here we go. Amumu can maybe look to get a big ultimate here. Oh, massive ultimate. I think it's a bit slow though from Misfortune. Okay, we're gonna look back at this fight. We're gonna look back at this fight because I think this is a fight that definitely needs looking back on. Okay, so that's the end of the fight. That's gonna be the end of the game as well. But let's just take a look at this fight, right? So here, right off the bat, King is doing something. I don't know what he's doing, to be honest. I think this is a throw. To be honest, I think this loses them the game. Right? He's going alone into Malzahar, Seraphine, Senna, Maokai. He's not gonna move. Right? If we look here, he gets suppressed, he gets charmed, he's just dead. He doesn't even get to use his R, he doesn't get to use Flash, he doesn't even proc Dark Harvest. He's just died for Malzahar ult and Seraphine ult. But Seraphine ult did hit someone else, so the damage is like not that bad. But then if we look here, if that's not bad enough, right? We still have a lot of tools to play with. We have Misfortune ult, we have Amumu ult, we have Urgot ult, right? We have a lot of tools to play off. So Misfortune should not be this far back when we can see Amumu looking to impact the fight, right? I think she should be standing basically where Urgot's standing, maybe a bit back, maybe just behind him. But she's really far away, right? And now you reach the point here where this is the state of your fight. Right, Leona is not able to go in at all. No CC going to be provided by Leona right now because of where she's positioned. We can see Amumu's looking for an ultimate, right? And it's going to be a big ultimate. Imagine if Seraphine, I'm not Seraphine, Misfortune was a bit higher up so that her flash R would actually reach this whole group of people. Right, if we look here, like look how far she gets rooted still, right? She doesn't get it blocked by the Urgot. And yeah, Leona is still like over here basically right now, right? So she's kind of still having to walk all the way around. And we see like yeah, she does get here now, which is good. We obviously get the heal for movement speed apparently. And this is a big ultimate, but look how far away Misfortune is. Misfortune is never impact. Not even Urgot is impacting this. So you have this massive ultimate by a Mumu, but to no avail because there's nothing to do with it, right? Like we see Gnar about to Gnar out, right? We know Senna still has ultimate, and it's a really big thing. But they kill Malzahar, who's already used everything, right? He doesn't have his ult. He doesn't have anything. Like, why are they prioritizing picking up the Malzahar here instead of like the Senna or the Seraphine or one of them, right? Like both flashes go out here, but now look at the state of this fight, right? You've lost Malzahar, but he's already done everything he can do. He's already done what he needs to. He's killed the Echo, right? And now we're playing this fight, but Misfortune ult is kind of used for nothing. And now you're doing an AoE fight battle against Senna, Seraphine, Maokai Gnar with Urgot, Misfortune, Amumu. And it's just this situation where they just the fight's just kind of lost, right? Like you're running into them and you just can't reach really. Like your carry hasn't even hit someone worthwhile yet. And now we see like Gnar on the backline here, and he's just gonna Gnar into the wall or something. Like it's just, and that's just gonna be the end of the game, right? So I think the biggest issues here that I could see from Oryx, right, is some very questionable late picks, right? Thinking about the Echo, thinking about the Aatrox, right? They haven't really used counter picks very well, barring the Urgot into the Gnar. But even then, the Urgot into the Gnar really didn't have the value you would have wanted. He didn't win the side lane really. He didn't really win team fights much. Thank you for following Oryx the One. Orcs the One. He didn't really like win the lane super hard in a way that actually felt substantial. But then on top of that, taking away from how Boy played, because I think he played a relatively good second game, right? It was a tough first game, good second game. On top of that, they haven't really used the Misfortune of Mumu very well, right? And King is looking for montage plays where they don't really exist, right? Like the play here to try and start team fights is Echo when you have Misfortune when you have Amumu, Leona, Urgot. Echo should never be the one starting a team fight. He should be looking for an angle to get into a back, but not really looking right in front to try and hit someone as first contact. And I think that's been the biggest problem for Oryx, right? They haven't really identified strengths to their comp. They didn't really play around much of their strengths. And I think going forward into like the next game, I think like going into the next series that they play, I think they have to look like a lot at figuring out what their strengths are quickly. Maybe talking about it in the champ select. What are we good at? Like who do we wanna engage? What do we want to play around? I think talking about stuff like this would be really beneficial to them, and I think we'll see a much better showing from them if they do manage to solve these kind of issues going forwards. Hi man, it was draft gap in general. I think yes, I think it was a bit of draft gap, but I think it's also coupled on top of that like a little bit of not knowing what you want to do, which is obviously not the funnest thing in the world, right? But I think it's something that you can fix, and I think this game was definitely winnable from you guys. So, or if you were in Youko, I think it was winnable for Oryx. I don't know which, I don't know which team you're specifically in. But yeah, that's gonna be the review. I'd just like to say thank you to Justin for allowing me to watch these on his YouTube channel. Um, there's the channel name in case anyone's interested. You can go back watch it yourselves. So I appreciate that as well. And yeah, I really hope anyone can learn something from this, or at least enjoyed watching it. So thank you everyone for watching. It was a pleasure to stream it, and I will chat to you guys another time when I do the next stream. Cheers, guys.